this acrylic UGF box, a plate, uplifting tube, which all comes in the set, 2 liters of good aqua soil. That's everything you need to breed even the most complicated Caridina shrimp. Today I'll show you how to set up a shrimp tank with underground filter box. I believe it's the best filtration for Caridina shrimp from my experience. At the end of the video I will tell you where to buy this acrylic box and how to build it from glass in case you want to make it yourself. I learned this method from Derek, a very experienced shrimp breeder who has an aquarium shop in Singapore with hundreds of tanks, and they all filter with a single UGF box. He even uses them for Neo Caridina and Sulwasi shrimp, but instead of an active soil he uses a lava rock because the shrimps don't really benefit from active soil. So how this filter works? Well, it just simply runs the water through the soil, makes the soil works much harder and dissolving the nutrients and buffering the water pH much better compared to traditional method when your soil just laying at the bottom of the tank. And the soil inside UGF also works as a filter media with plenty of surface area, which gives you a lot of biological filtration at the same time. If you have followed my channel for a while, you know that before I used these UGF boxes in all my tanks and they work great. I bred thousands of shrimp when I used them. Now I switched more to built-in UGF filters with glass partitions. They work exactly the same, they just hold more soil, last a bit longer and look a bit neater. It also allows me to build some area for plants in front of the filter with glass and silicone. But sometimes you don't have a time to build the fancy tanks with the glass dividers and you want quickly to set up a new tank for Caridina shrimp. This is where these UGF boxes become very handy. That's what happened to me. I didn't want to mess with the glass and silicone and instead I decided to set up a new shrimp tank with this underground filter box. Now let me show you how I made it. The size of the tank is 33 by 50 by 34 cm high. It's a bespoke aquarium which I built a year ago. I even have a video on my channel on how I made it in case you want to see that. So I simply filled the box with AD Amazonia and I added a little bit of soil to the bottom of the tank. Then I sprinkled some bacterial powder, filled this tank with RO water, connected the air stone to the pump and simply forgot about this tank's existence for 1 month. After 1 month, I did the first water change and changed 50% of water. Okay guys, I'm going to give you a quick update on this tank. You can see some fish inside the tank and this is because about 3 weeks ago I reset this tank and I rebuilt it completely. You can see it's a lot of plants here and a CO2 injection as well. I think by the time I release the video about this tank, you probably already saw this video about this tank, so you know better than me. So this tank is cycled a long time ago. It's ready for shrimps. So once I move the fish, I'm gonna put some plants here. Guys, I just received very interesting acrylic trays which I ordered online. Let me show you quickly. So this is the smaller version and I have a bigger version just in the tank. And you know what we can use it for? That's right, we can use it for plants. I think the size of this tray would work good for this tank and it's 20 cm by 20 cm by 5 cm tall. First I put a little bit of soil in the tray and then I sprinkle some crushed root tubs just to add some fertilizers for our plants. Then I fill the tray to the top with the soil and place it in the corner of our tank. This time I decided to try a new plant which I never used before and it calls Marsilii crinata. Hopefully I'm saying it correctly. At the back of the tray I planted some Rotala bonsai. Then I planted Marsilii crinata in the middle and I finished it with Eleacharis mini at the front. To speed up the plant's growth, I decided to inject this tank with CO2. I added an extra tray between the large tray and UGF box with some plants as well. And I also made a few coconut shell arches with some mosses. And I left this tank alone for another 2 weeks to grow some plants. I'm back again and it's been 2.5 weeks since my last update. And take a look at this plant growth, guys. It looks like a jungle. The power of CO2. And check this out, guys. I attached this Rotala bonsai to the coconut arch and this is what happened. This looks absolutely awesome. I think shrimp's gonna love it. And this is the same plant we use at the back of the tank over there. And the good thing about this now, we can move it anywhere we want. We even can move it to the different tank. I think we just need to trim the roots a little bit. They're way too long. They already started to penetrate the soil in the UGF box. And I did it exactly the same as I normally do with the mosses. You can see this is a good example. But instead of moss, I just use Rotala bonsai. I just cut it little pieces and attach it to the coconut shell. We definitely need to trim this Eleacharis mini we planted at the front of this tray. It grows like a crazy in CO2 environment and it blocks all these new carpeting plants we planted in the middle of the tray there. And you guys might notice I have some guppies fry in this tank And this is because earlier I put the pregnant guppy here. I separated it from my guppy tank just in order to save the babies, and she spawned quite a lot of babies. I think it's about like almost 30 of them. That's insane amount from one fish. So don't worry about that. We're gonna move them away into my guppy tank once they grow a little bigger. They're not gonna harm our shrimps. They're too little anyway. And you might say, what's going on with this guy? He used to have only shrimp in his tanks, just a little bit moss and nothing else. And now he breeding fish, he injecting CO2, he growing plants. I admit I got a little bit excited with some other aquarium stuff, and I got bored with just breeding shrimp. And I want to create something beautiful in my tank. So now let's prepare this tank for shrimp. Let's trim the plants and do the water change. I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely love this tank. We've got some red stem plants there, creating a nice little red pop. We also got some green stem plants, just mixing some different colors and textures, creating a nice aquascape there. Our new carpeting plant looks interesting, and I love this mixture of LHIS Mini with the new Marsilio Crinata. And here at the front we've got my signature coconut arches with the mosses. They look cool, and they also provide your shrimps with some hiding space. It's like a stress relief for them. We have Physidins fontanus moss on 3 of them, and on 1 of them I've got hookah moss. It's very rare moss I recently got. I like how it looks. And of course we've got my new creation, a coconut shell with a Rotala bonsai. That looks absolutely awesome, guys. And you might notice that I still run CO2 in this tank, and this is because I want to do a little experiment and breed Caridina shrimp with CO2 injection. And let me explain you why. I just did some tests, and I took some water from this tank and let it sit for a few hours. And you probably guys know that when you inject the CO2 in the water becomes more acidic. So I just wanted to see what's the difference in pH between the aquarium water with injected CO2 and without, and the difference is quite big. So the pH of the water in aquarium with CO2 injected is 5.1, and the pH of the same water but without CO2 is 5.7. So it's a huge difference, and the CO2 is a good way to lower the water pH, and the lowest pH the better for high-end Caridina shrimp. And if you think about this, technically you can use an inner soil, inject some CO2 in your tank and achieve a very nice and low pH, ideal for high-end Caridina shrimp. So you don't need to use active soil at all. The only downside of this is that at night your plants in your tank, they stop consuming CO2 and releasing oxygen, and the quite opposite, they start to consume oxygen and release CO2. And that's not going to be good for our shrimp, of course, because the shrimp love well oxygenated water. But I have a very good idea of how we can deal with this issue. And this is what we're gonna use to fix our problem. A cool little devices which release oxygen into the water. They call oxygenators, and we just need to fill them with the hydrogen peroxide, place them in the tank, and they're gonna supply us with the pure oxygen for the few weeks. Wow, take a look at this oxygen microbubbles. That's insane. That's what I was talking about. Now once we have plenty of pure oxygen supply in this tank, our shrimp is definitely going to be fine. Oh, by the way, I have one single shrimp. I don't know how it's get here. I think when I moved the plants, I got this little baby here or something. And guys, now let me show you my neighbor tank, and I featured this tank in my previous video if you want to see how I set this tank up. So this is my aquascape / farm tank, and I also got CO2 injection here. You can see it over here. And I have lots of shrimps here, and the shrimps doing absolutely fine here with CO2. There's no problem whatsoever. They're doing absolutely great. Even we have like tetras here, and you can see I just start to feed the shrimp, and they just all came here in the center of the tank. And guys, I absolutely love this tank. Lots of shrimps, lots of fish, lots of plants. So without further ado, let's put some shrimps here in this tank. I'm going to select some shrimp for our new setup from this tank, and this is my shrimp Wonderland tank, and you might see the video on how I set this tank up. This video is quite popular. Now it's been about 4 months since I added shrimp here. They are very beautiful Galaxy Tiger shrimp, my favorite Caridina. They're all doing fantastic here. They keep breeding, very prolific shrimp, and it's getting a bit too crowded here. That's why I want to create another tank with this gorgeous shrimp and give them a little bit more space to breed here in this tank. I'm going to select some juveniles and maybe a few adults and place them in our new tank. Let's do it now. There you go. We've got around 50 little galaxy tiger shrimp here, a mix of young adults and juveniles. They're just chilling and waiting to get to the new home. Let's not make them wait any longer and put them in. Welcome to your new apartments, little fellas. I hope you enjoy here. Ooh, awesome. Finally, we've got some shrimp here in this planted tank. I'm so excited to see them here. Lots of different patterns and colors. Very beautiful shrimp. I'm sure they're gonna be fine with their temporary roommates, little guppies. Don't worry, my little shrimp, your baby's gonna be safe here. The fish will be gone by the time we stop breeding. So in a few months we're gonna find out if the shrimp's gonna thrive in this low pH CO2 environment. And if you don't want to miss this update, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Oh yeah guys, I forgot to tell you which CO2 system I'm using here in this tank, in case you're wondering. So it fits perfectly here beneath the tank inside this little drawer. Let me open and show it to you. Ta-da! This is the 2 liter of CO2 fire extinguisher. I got it very cheap on eBay here in the UK. It cost me only $20 and it should last for many months. And the good thing is it doesn't take much space. It perfectly fits inside this drawer. Very like it. So I'm probably gonna fit the same system for this tank because I'm quite tired to make this yeast and sugar every 2 weeks. It's been already 1 week since we had a shrimp in this tank, so now let me give you a final update. The shrimp doing great here, they're very active and I have a very good feeling about this tank. I just did a trimming session here and I changed a little bit of water. Plants grow way too fast with CO2 and honestly I already regret that I planted this dwarf hair grass here. It becomes so messy when you trim it. I would never use it again with CO2. I haven't fed these shrimps yet since I put them in this tank and they're definitely hungry. So now let's give them a very fast feeding. Thank you so much for watching guys and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please drop me a like and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.